3, 2, 1, bro.
What's up, everybody? My name is Michael Lee Murphy. I'm one half of the Brothers Murph, and it's time for Board Game Highlight. This is a segment that we like to do where we kind of take games down from the shelf for a minute. Bust them open, crack them open, see what's on the inside. Just like a mortician cannot wait to get into your innards, we like to get into the innards of a game. Am I saying innards too many times? I feel like any amount of times is too many times to say innards. The point is with this segment is we like to get into these games a little bit and talk about why we like them so much. Why do they live on our shelves? Why do we give them our time? Why do we even ever do a passing glance at them like that and say, no, I'm gonna play that hotness instead, but I still like it, kid. That's what this segment's all about. And today, I want to play a game that celebrates seasons. Why? Because we don't have them here. They don't exist. This is a quick rundown of what seasons look like in Los Angeles for those who maybe haven't visited us at any different point in the year. If you've ever visited us at all, you've seen all the seasons. They go like this. Oh yeah, dude, you know, it's Valentine's Day, so I think I'm going to take my crush down to the beach. We're going to go swim in the ocean. It's a little bit nippy out, though, so on top of my graphic tank, I'm going to sport this beanie. Let's winter it up. Oh man, I got some allergies from all these flowers blooming. Good thing I got my graphic tank on. Oh man, it's still really temperate, but it sure is bright. Let me throw on these glasses to go with my graphic tank. Fall in LA lately has gone a little bit different. It goes like this. Oh my god, it's all on fire! Everything's on fire! Good thing I got my graphic tank! So that's a little taste of LA's seasons. Now the board game Seasons is a whole different affair. It's a beautiful, wonderful exploration of all the different seasons and all the mystical things that it can give us. And it celebrates the four natural elements. We got earth, we got water, we got fire, and we've got air.
Captain Planet, he's our hero, gonna take pollution down to zero.
And we're going to use those energy tokens, as they're called, to activate certain cards and get certain little minions and followers and things like that, all in hopes of gaining crystals. Who doesn't want crystals in their life, man? That lines up your auras and whatnot, makes you sure your spirit's healthy. Get into some aura magic today. And crystals with seasons. Let's get down to the table. So this is a game that I'm not gonna lie, a big part of why I like is these straight up chunky dice. Look at these bad mamma jammas right here. The chunk factor is off the charts. All right, sometimes you get the truffle shuffle chunk. Sometimes you get just chunk where you just starts up straight up like screaming when that one guy is singing in Goonies. Like that's how my brain feels when I see these chunky dice. I'm just like, they're huge. They're very satisfying to roll. And they serve an essential purpose to this game. In this game, you're going to be going kind of through 3 years, 3 times around this circular board, which denotes the different sections of the year, the different seasons, if you will, and the months and everything like that. And in those 3 years, you're going to try to play a number of cards that you get at the beginning of the game, because you would lose points if you don't manage to play all your cards. You're going to be trying to transmute these energy tokens, which are all up here, in order to get crystals and go up this board, which is our score track. Every player is going to have a little player board here to help them out. And one thing I love about this game, and Lubella does a good job, is they choose kind of off-the-wall colors for their games. This game has purple, it's got green, it's got orange, and it's got the most bold choice of all, gray. Who chooses gray? I actually love that they have that. I'm not gonna be gray, but I love that it's a choice. Like, it's a valid color. Let's stop the hate campaign against gray. Gray's fine. I got some right here. I can't wait to get more of it, man. It's distinguished. If you want to be the distinguished gentleman playing this game, go gray. Or go any of the other 3 colors, because they are slightly cooler. But if you're the 4th player, go gray. Why not? It's never used in games. I respect that, Labellid. I respect the gray every time that I don't use it. So the player board is really cool because it's going to help you hold your energy tokens, which again are these up here. Now you want to talk about chunk factor? Go the extra mile. The game comes with the Chunktacular dice. The game does not come with the Chunktacular energy tokens. You got to go to BGG, that's BoardGameGeek.com, to get those. I'm telling you, if you want to go Chunkalicious to the max, you want to go Double Dutch Chunk, get these things because they're very satisfying in the hands. They're more satisfying on the table. And that's all. It's just they're fun in plastic, and get them. They're fun. So at the very start of the game, whether you're playing 2, 3, or 4 players, you're going to do a draft with these cards. These cards have minions. These cards have artifacts. And you're going to be drafting out 9 of these cards. So if you're playing a 2-player game, each player is going to get 9 cards, and you're going to do a straightforward draft. So that means you're going to look at your 9 cards. You're going to find which one of them you want. You keep it. You pass your hands around. You choose another one. You pass them around until you end up with 9 cards each. Now, the fun part that kind of is really interesting, it goes a bit further, is that once you get your 9 cards, you then decide which 3 you want to have available to you at the start of the game. Again, you go through 3 years in the game, 3 times around the little dial here, and you're only going to get 3 of your 9 cards to start. So that means you need to lock away 3 more that are going to become available the time that you enter into the second year, and then 3 more that will come when you get into the third year. So there's a lot of strategy here because certain cards are going to take more energy crystals to activate. This is going to take 6 energy crystals. You can hold a maximum of 7. It's going to be hard to get the crystals in your hand at the right time to be able to use this card. So do you want to have this card in your hand early so you give yourself a lot of time? Or do you want to be able to get some cards out that kind of build up your engine a little bit, knowing that late game it's going to be easy for you to get a lot of crystals and then play that card later? Because again, for every card you don't get to play, you get penalized at the end of the game. You do not want cards left over in your hand. So there's a little bit of strategy that goes into what you want available. I usually like to make sure that cards that are going to be good in-game abilities are available early on in that first year so that I can use them for the most amount of time possible. There's certain ones that are just kind of good for end-game scoring, because on the top left of each of your cards you have a little number here, and that's just how many victory points they're worth at the end of the game. So it's always good to play cards. So you might want to determine what you're going to have available when, and you get them all set up like this as little reminders on top of those stacks to remember, oh, this is for year 2, this is for year 3, and then once you have your 3 cards, you're ready to begin the game. So once the game begins, you're going to be taking it in turn to roll out these dice and basically gather tokens, play cards, and the like. So you're going to start off in winter here. There's this little token that's going to keep track of where in the year you are, and depending on what season you're in, you're going to roll different dice. You're always going to go dice equal to the player count plus 1, so no one will ever be stuck with an option. I've set up for a 2-player game, so we have 3 dice. This game plays great at 2-player, by the way. If you're the first player, you're going to roll out these dice. You're going to make them available, and you're also going to get first pick. On these dice, you're going to see things like the different symbols for energy tokens. You'll see air and water drops for water, fire, and earth. You're going to see these little circles around here, which I'll talk about. You're going to see stars, and you're going to sometimes see numbers in addition to these little rectangles. So most of what you're going to see are little symbols for energy tokens. If I were to pick this card right here, or this die, excuse me, I'm going to put it in there to remind myself that I took it. And I'm going to get the symbols that are shown there. In this case, I get 2 water energy tokens, and they're going to go into my storage right here. There's also a little star here. A lot of them have stars. This is going to increase your summoning gauge. Now, in the game, you're trying to play all these cards. You're playing these magical items. You're getting all these different followers and things like that, but you need to have a summoning gauge high enough to play these cards. So for every card you want to play down, you need to have at least that high of a number on your summoning gauge. So by playing this die right here, I increase my summoning gauge to 1, which now means I can play up to 1 card in front of me. Cards always stay in front of you unless you get something that allows you to destroy or discard cards. And you get to play a card if you are able. So I have in my hand this Dice of Malice. It allows me to do a reroll. Right here, they're always going to have the cost. In this case, this costs 0 crystals. I would need to have a positive amount of crystals if it had a cost like that. It does not. So I get to play this in my hand, and then from now on, I get to do re-rolls. The other player is going to choose one of the remaining die. In this case, they just want to get a 6, which is going to give them straight up crystals. Boom, they go up 6 points. They set down their die in front of them, and we move on. On each die, there's always going to be pips at the bottom. Depending on the amount of pips, that's going to show how far forward time's going to move. In this case, there are 3 pips. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, right into spring. we collect the dice, and we move on to the next season. Now we're rolling the green dice. For each season rather, one element is going to be most prominent. In the spring, it's going to be earth. In the winter, it's going to be water, fire, and air for summer and fall, respectively. And then you're just going to be basically going through trying to play all of your cards. A lot of the cards are cool because they'll allow you to have more flexibility with the energy tokens you have. And it's really important because cards usually have costs related to energy tokens. This takes 1 water, 1 fire, 1 air. This takes 2 earth. So if you have more versatility in what you have in hand, it's going to make it easier to play more of your cards and things like that. A couple of things that you can do based on the dice rolls are you can draw cards. If you get one of these big squares right here, these big rectangles, you just simply draw a card from the top of the deck. You don't get any choice in what you get. Whatever you get is something that you hopefully are going to play before the end so you don't go down points, okay? In this case, I got the Balance of Ishtar. So it costs 2 crystals. I'd have to pay that in crystals in order to play it. I'd have to have my summoning gauge high enough in order to play it. And when I play this, I get to discard 3 identical energy tokens and transmute them into 9 crystals, which again are your points. So what's this whole transmuting business? This is a cool thing you can do where you can turn in your energy tokens, and instead of like using them to play cards, you can turn them into points. Around our whole dial here, we have kind of 3 rungs, and they show different amounts of crystals that you get based on what season you're in. So if ever you pick up a die that has the little iconography in a circle here, that means you can also transmute on your turn. So that means you can turn in these crystals or these energy tokens for crystals, and depending on the season, they'll be worth either 1, 2, or 3 points. Always the season that the energy token is most prominent in, like in this case, winter, there's a lot of water. It's only going to give you 1 point for every water you turn in. We just came out of fall, so that's also, you're probably going to have fall, like air tokens in your, in your backpack or wherever you keep natural elements. I don't know where you keep your fire. I keep mine in a knapsack, okay? Since those were around a lot recently, you're only getting 1 point for that. But we're halfway across the year from summer, so every time you turn in a summer token, a fire token, you're going to get 2 crystals. And we're also almost all the way around the year before we've had spring again, so you're going to get 3 crystals. And it just moves on like that. So you can always check this little track right here to see how much crystals are going to be worth when you transmute them. This Balance of Ishtar card is cool because no matter the season, if you have 3 identical tokens, you can turn them in and get 9 crystals, which would be the maximum of turning in 3. So I'm in spring here. Water's only going to give me 1 on its own, but with this card, now I can turn in boop, 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 1, 2, 3, and get 9 crystals instead. So that's the way the cards can kind of maximize what you do. I really like this game because I think it works really good at all player counts. I really love playing it at 2. I've almost exclusively played this as a 2-player game. And it really works because you're just trying to kind of play your cards and make the best little kind of engine that you can. There's some tableau building here with the cards you got out in front of you and the abilities they do. A little bit of engine building with things that might help give you energy tokens. And there's just like lots of little ways you can futz with stuff. There's certain cards that allow you to move time forward or backward. So if you're like, I really need to get into this next season, I really need to get into the next year to get more cards, I'm going to play this card and move time forward a bunch. Or I need everything to slow down. I really need a blue energy token. I'm going to move time back to winter to make sure that I have a better chance of rolling blue water tokens and things like that. There's lots of ways to like manipulate the game. And this is also the first game I ever played that had drafting in it, because you do that draft at the beginning of the game. So I know if I'm playing a 2-player game especially, I know a lot of what Nick has. So I'm trying to like make sure I kind of pivot in a way that's advantageous for me, but doesn't just give him everything that he needs as well. So it becomes a tight little race for that. And there's just really interesting dynamics with the dice rolls, because it is ultimately rolling dice, and depending on which dice you choose, you can give yourself little bonuses and things that you're trying to go for. Sometimes you're just trying to get a butt ton of energy tokens so that you can just transmute a bunch of stuff and get more in-game points. Sometimes you're not really transmuting at all, you're just trying to play out a bunch of cards to get a lot of end-game scoring. Both can be very viable strategies. And there's not a whole lot of stuff to complicate the game. You're just rolling the dice. Everyone gets to choose. You go in play order, then around the table. You get to choose your die. play any cards you have that to play, transmute any crystals or energy tokens into crystals if you want, and then the play moves on to the next player, so it doesn't really outstay its welcome. It doesn't overcomplicate itself. If ever you're in a real big jam, you have 3 times in the game that you can activate kind of special stuff on your player board, but it's going to cost you points at the end of the game. So one thing you can do is you can turn in any 2 of your energy tokens that you have in store. You can swap those out for different energy tokens. You can basically give yourself the ability to transmute, because what happens if you roll 3 dice, none of them have transmute on them? I can't transmute this turn. You can go here, you can transmute, and you get +1 crystal per energy token you turn in. That can be very valuable, but again, it's going to cost you points. You can go up 1 on your summoning gauge. There's some times where you just can't get a star to save your life. On this die, we have 1, 2, 3. Half of the die faces on this have stars, and there just might be times where turn after turn you just do not get a star, or someone takes the die faces with the stars on them and you get stuck. Here's a way to increase your summoning gauge. Another thing you can do is you can basically draw 2 cards and keep 1 if you're really in need of getting another card, getting more cards played and stuff like that. So I like that you have just a little bit of wiggle room here, but other than that, it's up to you to kind of figure out your cards, make it work. But since you did the draft, you can't really get mad about like, well, the cards aren't good. It's just like, well, you chose those cards, so it's on you to figure out the puzzle now, you dummy. There's not much more to say about the game. This is a game I feel like people don't talk about very much. I don't get it, because it's one thing that has beautiful, beautiful art. It's set in the same world as like Dice Forge. And there's just gorgeous, colorful art that has just kind of fun, cartoonish style. Tons of color, and it's just one that's really appealing to have on the board. I love the big chunky dice. This was a huge thing that sold me on the game early. It was just the chunk factor of the dice. We now have the upgraded energy tokens, which I couldn't live without, because it just adds to like the tokens match the dice now. The tokens were fine. They were little cardboard tokens before. It was no problem at all. But now that we have this, I'm like, dude, it's just so simpatico. I can't imagine not having the chunky energy tokens to go along with the chunky dice. I like that you have a simple draft at the beginning, but unlike Terraforming Mars, a game where you could draft and maybe eliminate some of those card problems, I don't want to do it because it's going to slow down the game. Here, you just have a draft right at the beginning. It's as you're setting up everything else anyway. You do your draft, you figure out which cards are going to live in which year, and then you're just playing the game from there on out. So it doesn't really slow down the game once you get going. It's just kind of there and ready to rock. This is one that I just feel like maybe just not enough people see it out on the tabletop and are like, dang, that's colorful and pretty. I want to play that. Just because it's just people don't seem to talk about it. And it's a game that I really appreciate because there's a lot to think about and a real cool puzzle to work out, but it's not... It's still simple in its way. I guess the only way I can think of to put it. It's not overly. It doesn't overcomplicate itself. It allows you to basically just focus on your strategy. The mechanics are simple. It's straightforward. There's only a few different things to do on your turn, and yet there's a lot to think about, a lot to keep you engaged and pay attention. There's certain cards that will mess with other players a little bit. So there's a little bit of take that, a little bit of player interaction, but also you can pretty much just play cards that are going to like build up your little engine and kind of stay on your own and do your thing. So it kind of caters to lots of different types of players. Okay, it's a little bit over here, it's a little bit over there, a little bit of move, a little bit of shake. Seasons, all right? That's all I got to say about it, fam. Keep it short and sweet this week, okay? Seasons is a fantastic game. I encourage all of you to give it a try. Our buddy Matthew Jude of This Game Is Broken had played this game, I think maybe too early in his board game career for him, he was saying, and kind of...
I know I don't, 'cause they may dub, they may scream, they may say some things that are plain wrong. But they are dumb bing bongs.
So if you're out there and you've never played Seasons, give it a go. If you played it once and were kind of like, 50-50, give it another try. See if it appeals to you. I really love it. It's got some of my favorite art in a game. It's just very vibrant and beautiful and simple, fun dice rolling and just trying to figure out how to work with what you got. how to use these energy tokens and everything in the best way possible to get the most crystals. And that's really all there is to it. That is Seasons. Thank you for joining me here for another board game highlight, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. If you don't mind being a little extra cheerful and charitable this season, consider giving to our Patreon. We're right here. There's a live link right there in the comments of this video that you can go to support our Patreon. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up. We're going to be doing a 24-hour live stream coming up. We always are playing live stuff on Twitch and doing interactive games where you get to play games with us. We play things like Wits and Wagers and Welcome to and Railroad Inc. and Mysterium and Concept, all sorts of different games that involve the chat where you get to directly affect the game and interact with us. So come check us out on Twitch. And until next time, I'm out of here. I hope you have a wonderful day. And thanks for hanging out with me here on Board Game Highlight, playing some Seasons. Peace. Dang, so that dude was just talking about Seasons, huh? Now, what you have here is you have an all-weather system for Los Angeles. I got glasses because it's sunny. I got a beanie because it might get chilly and I gotta keep the nog warm. I got a graphic tank on so I'm prepared for everything. You want to be prepared for everything? Do you want to be prepared to upgrade your gaming experience? Well, then go to GameToppersLLC.com and play your game on a Game Topper. We got the adventure map. Why? Because I'm already ready for an adventure, bro. I'm already ready. That's right. I'm ready for anything. I can't see out of these glasses, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to let my heart and my aura guide me where I may go. You want to get retro? I don't know if this is retro, if this is futuristic, if this should not exist at all. I really like when people bring games back from the past, spruce them up for today's audience and release them for you. Restoration Games has got you covered there. They got Fireball Island, dudes. Fireball Island, dudettes. Yeah, that's right. A board game that can be played by men and women. Crazy, right? But Restoration Games is all about bucking up trends and stuff like that. Go to restorationgames.com to check out all of their games. Just be about it. This bumper was weird.